Hey buddies, this is not going to be a full anti-social media video, although I'll probably still put it in the anti-social media playlist. But today we're talking about Parler. And yes, I am over on Parler, under Short Fat Otaku, as always. I haven't really customized it yet, I should probably do that. And Parler is basically a Twitter replacement. They have a few other features, for example, the comments underneath individual posts kind of branch out as more and more people talk about them. It's a little bit easier to follow. You can post more than, 240 characters, Twitter's character limit. You can post more than that. And probably most importantly of all, Parler is marketed as a free speech alternative. Now, where have we heard that before? But a couple of weeks ago, Parler started really blowing up, and I'm talking like 500,000 new accounts in just a couple of days blowing up because of the hashtag twigsit. And if you go to twigsit.com, you're greeted with this page. Dear Jack, you've abused us for the last time. Censorship stinks. I'm out, and I'm taking my friends with me. Reject censorship and exit Twitter. Read the open letter to Jack Dorsey, Twitter CEO. Join the twexit movement. And then it gives you a few links here you can click on. These will basically fast track your Parler account creation. And here's that open letter. Dear Jack, I want to thank you, not only on behalf of Parler, but also on behalf of the hundreds of millions of Americans to whom you have now, at last, made abundantly clear that Twitter is not their form. It's your form, where your left-wing views predominate, and theirs are only allowed if they properly align with your own radical political bias. By using the notoriously left-wing CNN and Washington Post to fact-check the President of the United States, you removed any remaining doubt as to where you stand, and the utter disdain you hold for those who dare to disagree. Frankly, you inadvertently conceded this on CNN nearly 18 months ago, where you proudly boasted that Twitter is left-leaning. You then absurdly tried to cover your tracks when you hastily added, but we do not look at content with regards to political viewpoint or ideology, we look at behavior. Yes, behavior like daring to depart from the liberal Twitter orthodoxy. But of course, your top aide is responsible for election security and misinformation. Yoel Roth had already let the cat out of the bag when he proclaimed in January 2017 that there are actual Nazis in the Trump White House. By the way, did you get CNN and the Washington Post to fact-check that claim? So now, with your latest assault of President Trump, and more importantly, freedom of speech, you have, as I said, removed any remaining doubt as to your rigid left-wing ideology, your bitter contempt for those who aren't buying what you're selling, and your full-blown, full-bore intention to rid Twitter of even the most remote semblance of free speech, once and for all. So thank you, Jack. Thank you for slamming shut the portals of Twitter, as we throw open the door to Parler. Your stock is plunging, your followership is tanking, and Parler is skyrocketing. So stop by and say hello on your way down and on our way up. At Parler, we still wholeheartedly believe in freedom of speech. Sincerely, John Matze, or is it Mads? I don't know. CEO and member of Parler. P.S. At Parler, we also respect our members' privacy, their personal data, and their content as it's not sold to the highest bidder. The twigsit is here. Okay, so that is basically how Parler is spinning this. They're talking about the increasing left-wing bias on Twitter, and yes, there is an increasing left-wing bias on Twitter. No one can honestly deny that. And how that is infringing now on freedom of speech. Of course, the reply to this is fundamentally an ANCAP one, which is why it's really funny to hear it come out of lefties' mouths. Twitter is their own company, they can do whatever they want. The left has no problem with forcing companies to do things that they find to be morally acceptable, but in this one case, no, they're interfering with capitalism. You guys don't give a shit about capitalism. It's all just empty rhetoric from them. But nonetheless, let's talk about what Twitter actually did. Here's Donald Trump's Twitter feed, scrolled all the way back to June 23rd, and I gotta admit, that was a lot of scrolling to do. And check out this tweet. This tweet violated the Twitter rules about abusive behavior. However, Twitter has determined that it may be in the public's interest for the tweet to remain accessible. It has no replies, no retweets, no favorites. It cannot be interacted with in any way, it can only be viewed. Now, before I even open this tweet up, the way that Twitter's framing this is completely false. Twitter has not determined that it may be in the public's interest. Twitter is being told to do this by the Supreme Court. All official correspondence by the president is to be kept as public record. This has been affirmed by the Supreme Court multiple times. It's one of the reasons why Donald Trump can't block anybody on Twitter either. So no, if you actually tried to delete this tweet, I'm sure you'd have a lawsuit on your hands. That's why you're doing it. If somebody else tweeted this, they'd probably get banned. Actually, no, so many people are tweeting what the contents of this tweet are now. It's kind of become its own meme, and they're not getting banned because there's too many of them. But let's view it anyway. There will never be an autonomous zone in Washington, D.C. as long as I'm your president. If they try, they will be met with serious force. Is that abusive behavior? Is it abusive to say that you're going to defend against anarcho-communists who try to establish autonomous zones in American cities? That you're going to prevent the erection of such zones in order to actually maintain law and order within them? In order to guarantee the human rights of those people who would live in that zone? Let me get this straight, Twitter. Securing people's natural rights under the law is abusive to you. It is not necessarily the fact that Twitter has been putting this little interstitial here over top of Trump's tweets, though that is part of it. What really kicked off the whole Parler thing was putting it on this tweet specifically, on how blatantly partisan this was. Being anti-communist revolution and declaring your intent to defend yourself and defend those around you, Twitter considers that to be abusive. If that is not partisan hackery, I don't know what is. And because Twitter has gone off the deep end regarding banning anyone who is not hard left, yeah, there's going to be a lot of conservatives showing up on these non-Twitter sites. Not just Parler, but also Minds and Gab. And funnily enough, on Laura Loomer's site, there's a list of conservative accounts to follow on Parler. And this list really is a who's who of the deplatformed right now. You have Milo, Gavin McInnes, the Proud Boys, Laura Loomer herself, Infowars, Alex Jones, Faith Goldie, Nick Fuentes, Zero Hedge, Sargon's on there, Tommy Robinson, Adam Baldwin, Rand Paul, Mike Cernovich, James O'Keefe, Project Veritas, Daily Caller. You know, a lot of people that I do disagree with regularly. However, I would not want to see them deplatformed. Oh god, QAnon is on there, okay. But the point is, I wouldn't want to see these people deplatformed. Even though I disagree with almost everything with someone like Nick Fuentes or whatever, I don't want to see them kicked off a site. Not because they haven't done anything wrong, man. It's still free speech. But Twitter does not care about free speech anymore. Let's not kid ourselves, guys. Parler isn't perfect. There are some serious problems with it. Here's an oft-cited thread by Mark Doppelganger. The based and red-pilled Parler app requires providing phone number to message people over the internet. Privacy, safety, freedom of speech, phone number. Miss me with this glowing stuff. Now, that's actually pretty bad, but it doesn't make it any worse than other websites. Have you noticed that Twitter requires a phone number now? Have you noticed that Facebook does? In fact, Facebook requires a picture of your photo ID sometimes. If your name is like a non-standard name, or if you put in a nickname or something, it will require you to post a picture of photo ID to make sure you're a real person. I know I'm an old man. In fact, I just did a video on being an old man. But, man, do I recall, and on some level miss the times, when people were saying, don't post your real information on the internet, then someone can find you. Some creep will look you up. Don't post your phone number. Don't post your address. Don't post your real name. I would love to go back to those times. I would love to go back to the times of anonymous accounts on IRC or something. This is not good for Parler, but it's still on par with everything else. I'd say it's even on Parler. And here's Parler's terms of service. Parler may remove any content and terminate access to services at any time for any reason, or no reason, although Parler endeavors to allow all free speech that is lawful and does not infringe the legal rights of others. Any invitation made by Parler to you to use the services or submit content to the services, or the fact that Parler may receive a benefit from your use of the services or provision of content to the services, will not obligate Parler to maintain any content or maintain your access to the services. Parler will have no liability to you for removing any content, for terminating your access to the services, or for modifying or terminating the services at any time and in any way, and for any reason or no reason. Although the Parler guidelines provide guidance to you regarding content that is not appropriate, Parler is free to remove content and terminate your access to the services even where the guidelines have been followed. Now, this actually sounds quite bad, and on some level it is quite bad, but there's a few spots where I kind of get it, you know? For example, when you read the part where it says, Parler is not obligated to maintain your access to the services, that makes sense. Because if you lose your internet package or something, Parler is not responsible for getting you back on Parler. This basically reads like you are using Parler's property at their whim. And that does sound really bad, but as long as their whim is free speech, then you basically just have to trust them. Like, it's kind of bad, but there's no other way they'd word this without putting themselves in some kind of legal loophole where if they wanted to, like, close down the site one day, they wouldn't be able to do so, you know? I think this is, like, standard legalese that sucks. Don't get me wrong, it's not good, but it's also par for the course. And no, I won't make the pun again. The terms of this user agreement may be modified by Parler in any way and at any time without notice to you, and you agree to be responsible for making yourself aware of any modification of the terms to be bound by any modification of the terms when you continue to access or use the services after any such modification. This is, again, a spot where Twitter had them beat, because when Twitter started updating its hate speech policy, it refused to alter really old tweets, like stuff from 2012 or whatever. I think it was 2017 or 2015 or something along those lines. When the new policy came into effect, all the tweets from before that era would not be affected. Unlike on YouTube, where 10-year-old videos are getting struck down constantly for violating the terms of service or the community guidelines or whatever the fuck it is. Videos that are in no way relevant and were completely in line with the terms back then. If you permit us to access the address book on your device or give us permission to import your contacts from an email account associated with your account, we may access and store names and contact information from your address book to facilitate invitations and social interactions that you initiate through our services and for other purposes described in this privacy policy or at the time of consent of collection. I mean, this one seems easy. Don't give them access to that shit. Unless, for some dumb fuck reason, Parler requires access to your contacts list just to use it, that would be ridiculous. But I'm on Parler. I haven't been asked anything like that. You can delete your account by emailing us your request at account.deletion@parler.com. You can't just delete it in the account settings, you have to email them. I mean, that's kind of lame, but fine. You agree to receive communications from Parler, including communications sent by phone, email, text message, or other means of communication. If you provided a phone number to Parler, you are required to notify Parler when you cease to own or control that number to help prevent Parler from sending communications to others who may acquire that number. Alright, so you are forced to accept their spam. That sucks, but it's just kind of annoying, you know? You agree to arbitrate any dispute that you have with Parler. You agree to resolve all disputes with Parler through binding arbitration with the American Arbitration Association in Clark County, Nevada, unless the dispute meets the requirements for small claims court and is filed in Justice Court Henderson, Clark County, Nevada. If, for any reason, this agreement to arbitrate is determined by a court or arbitrator to be unenforceable, you agree that the federal and state courts with jurisdiction over Clark County, Nevada, will have exclusive jurisdiction over any dispute involving you and Parler. Any arbitration will be governed by the AAA Commercial Arbitration Rules, Consumer Due Process Protocol, and supplementary procedures for resolution of consumer-related disputes. The arbitration will be conducted only by telephone, online, or based solely on written submissions, and not by personal appearance of any party or witness. This user agreement and any dispute between you and Parler will be governed by the laws of the state of Nevada, excluding any applicable choice of law provision. Up until this point, things have seemed lame but normal for a social media site like Parler. I don't know if Twitter or Facebook or anybody else has a clause like this, but this is absolutely ridiculous. This means simply by using Parler, if you ever have reason to sue Parler, any reason at all, you can't. You have to arbitrate with them. You cannot join a class action lawsuit. You cannot file a claim against them. You can only arbitrate. Now, I've seen similar clauses like this in the past, and they almost always get thrown out as unenforceable. And I'm pretty sure that this clause here, where if it turns out this whole thing is unenforceable, you have to agree to their jurisdiction. I don't know if that's enforceable either. Who knows? But the point is, this is basically them trying to do as much of a power grab as they can, saying that, oh, if you use our service, you can't sue us. Even if we fuck you, you can't sue us. And even though this type of thing has been rendered unenforceable, it is going to scare a lot of people away. People who might actually have a legitimate grievance against Parler. Maybe because they just don't know any better, or they don't want to go through the extra step of trying to overcome this before even filing their case, you know? Do not purposefully share rumors about other users and people you know are false. Well, that might be kind of hard. What if you actually think that it's true, and then it turns out you were wrong? What if you change your mind? What if Parler thinks you're lying? Avoid targeting red or no-badged users with disparaging information. They are more protected under the law than prominent individuals. More protected under the law? Is it because users with certain badges are like public figures or something? I mean, the whole point of social media, one of the big boons and big drawbacks of social media is that the minute that you post on social media, you also become a public figure. Doesn't matter if you have 5 followers, you're still posting something publicly. Pornography is considered indecent according to clauses defined by the FCC. Do not use language or visuals that describe or show sexual organs or activity. Do not use language or visuals that are morbid or degrading. Avoid language or visuals that are sexual in nature. So Parler has already gone the way of Gab, where Gab just wanted to straight up ban porn. You agree to defend and indemnify Parler, as well as any of its officers, directors, employees, and agents, from and against any and all claims, actions, damages, obligations, losses, liabilities, costs or debt, and expenses, including but not limited to all attorney's fees, arising from or relating to your access and use of the services. Parler will have the right to conduct its own defense at your expense in any action or proceeding covered by this indemnity. So if you post something on Parler and Parler gets in trouble for it, you're footing their bill. This is basically an inverse of the Section 230 safe harbor laws that allowed the modern internet to come to be in the first place. It's kind of crazy. And although it sounds strange, this is something that other social media companies have actually moved on from. For example, here's Friendster's indemnity clause from back in 2003. Yeah, remember Friendster? There's a social media site that went nowhere. But pause this and see if it looks familiar to you. Here is Facebook's indemnity clause from 2009. Here's MySpace's indemnity clause from 2006. All of these clauses were put into these websites and eventually dropped. I know Friendster doesn't exist anymore, but the clause was dropped several years before Friendster went out of business. Facebook and MySpace both dropped theirs years ago as well. It could be the case that with Section 230 protections in place, all of these companies felt that these clauses were no longer valid, or at least not needed. And maybe Parler is expecting Section 230 to go away, which unfortunately is on the table right now because social media companies are behaving so awfully when it comes to political censorship and being unbiased, that some people, rather than reform the system, want the nuclear option of removing Section 230, which will basically kill Google, kill Amazon, kill Facebook, kill Twitter, kill Reddit, kill them all. They'll all be gone because it will make them liable to millions of lawsuits. And maybe Parler sees that coming and wants to push that cost off onto its users. Maybe Parler's simply covering its bases, throwing out stuff that it knows won't stick. Maybe Parler's just being a dick. Who knows? Also, I don't know why Parler would ever have your social security number, but a clause like this never looks good. And for all the things that Parler demands of its audience, it's not even truly free speech. Conservatives are flocking to a new free speech social media app that has started banning liberal users. This is just as bad, just going the other way. We do not need an aisle-flipped version of Twitter. We need a place where everyone can talk, and everyone can debate, and everyone can put their heads together and come up with solutions to the problems that we're facing. Hello, Sheriff Joe. Your post is in violation of our terms of service. I'm Marco Rubio. Anyone know where I can find some breast milk? My wife left me. This is in violation of obscenity. This violation has added 4 to your total points accumulated. Total current violation points is 4. As a red or gold badge user, if your account accumulates 20 points in a 3-month period, your account will be banned from Parler and all future services. Now that little Marco Rubio bit sounds a lot like parody to me, but because Parler thinks it's obscene, Sheriff Joe is banned. It turns out that Sheriff Joe actually is banned. It's not just 4 points on his card or whatever. Yeah, he's gone now, probably for the sin of posting this publicly and humiliating Parler. But the point is, when the right whines about obscenity, it's the exact same thing as the left whining about problematic. We don't need any of that BS coming from anyone. Pretty much all of my leftist friends joined Parler to screw with MAGA folks, and every last one of them was banned in less than 24 hours because conservatives truly love free speech. They said stuff like, "Dan Bongingo, you should really wash your doo-doo ass." One got banned for saying she wants to fight a police dog. Like, what the hell, man? This is no better. This is no fucking better. At this point, when it comes to social media, I'm adopting my own personal terms of service. I call it fuck it. And basically, here's what you do. You sign up for a social media account, and you do whatever the fuck you want. And then, when they inevitably ban you, because somebody, whether it's left, right, doesn't matter, somebody gets a stick up their ass about it, you make another one, because it's free. Emails are free nowadays, social media accounts are free nowadays, doesn't really matter. If you need a phone number, there's websites you can go where you can sign up and just get like a burner number that lasts 30 minutes, just enough to verify your account, then you get rid of the number. Same with emails, same with IPs, doesn't matter anymore. There was once a point where I was willing to actually listen to the terms of service of all of these companies, but these terms have become so oppressive that the only thing I can think of now is civil disobedience. So no, I will use these sites as much or as little as I want. I will not follow their rules, and if I ever want to come back, I will make a new account and come back. And until they actually implement rules that are worth following, and do not censor for any reason the users of their site, then I see no reason to abide by them. I am willing to come to the table. I am willing to bend a little bit. I am willing to follow rules that I think are reasonable. But if this is what social media is going to be, then fuck it. I'll do what I want. Hey pals, this is a quick end of video PSA. The talk on Parler is over now, so if you actually want to click away, go ahead. But I do have something else important that I want to talk about. And it is related to, stuff going missing online. So I've been somebody who follows a lot of YouTubers that have disappeared. Like, for example, I'm on the Cinema Snobs website right now. If you were to try to go back, say, 10 years and watch the old Cinema Snobs, a lot of them are gone. A lot of the links on this site are dead because they were on Blip TV, and Blip TV's gone. Like, for example, here's his review on Caligula from 2010. There's no review here, though. A lot of his old stuff is just gone. Lost to time. You go to Spoonie's channel if you ever wanted to go back and see his old videos, because he's not really doing anything anymore. And, if you scroll down, you'll notice, after you get through all of his streams, a lot of his stuff is also gone. A lot of the videos, a lot of the vlogs and the reviews, they've simply vanished. And in fact, if you want to watch Spoonie now, you have to go to channels like NotRub here, who posts a lot of vlogs that, again, were only on Blip TV and have largely been lost as well. But he reposted them here. There's a lot of old convention footage that was lost. There's a lot of commentary tracks that were lost. Basically stuff that, frankly, I never thought I'd be able to see again. My point is, I'm going on this wild tangent here. My point is that I never liked the idea of my own content ever being lost to time. For example, as autistic as this is, I have a hard drive where every single playthrough we've ever done over the course of the past 7 years on Game Boomers, it's all here. Every single playthrough. And it's also all uploaded to the Game Boomers YouTube channel. So whenever we stream on Twitch, I upload that stream basically as like a Let's Play on that channel. I've got all the old anime reviews from way back in the day. There's Season 1 of the SFO anime review, Season 2, and Season 3. They're all here. And of course, I've also got the Dumping with Scrumps. They're all here. There's a shit ton of Dumping with Scrumps now. I've got all the Devtrospectives backed up. All the 10-minute takes are here, even the really old ones from like 4 years ago. Point is, I save a lot of this stuff. And I do it because I don't like the idea of my content going missing one day. Everything that I have here is uploaded somewhere. If YouTube won't take it because it's like a hentai review from 9 or 10 years ago, it's up on my BitChute. I have this stuff uploaded somewhere, whether it's on SFO, on Game Boomers, on the dev kit. It exists somewhere. And I have copies of everything that we've ever done. So if something goes missing or there's a new platform, I'll re-upload the entire backlog there too. The point is, I have liked so many YouTubers whose stuff has gone missing that I never wanted that to be a problem for me. Whether or not I make it big, if I have any fans at all who want to see my old stuff, I want it to be there. I want it to be available so that somebody can spend a lazy Saturday afternoon watching old YouTube videos from 10 years ago that they're kind of being half nostalgic about. Maybe they just discovered it, whatever. I want that stuff to be available. That is important to me, even though it sounds kind of autistic. And then I had kind of a problem. Because as you can see, this is a playlist on my Game Boomers YouTube from the Goof Troop playthrough that I did with BLG, Born Losers Gaming. All the videos are privated, except I was smart enough to save them, and I re-uploaded them to my channel, so here they are in the playlist, if you just scroll down a little bit. I did not exactly want to reveal this, but the preservation of my content I personally find to be a higher order value than the whole cancel culture thing. But basically, when I was talking about people who had thrown me out of their Discord in the cancel culture video last week, it was these guys. And they are a reasonably small Let's Play channel, and back when I was a reasonably small Let's Play channel, we had done crossovers in like 2015 or something, and they decided to delete the crossovers. But I saved them. And they're here, and they're available for you to watch. Now, it would be a personal favor to me if you manage to get more than 400 hits on this part 1, because that is all they managed to get on their channel, but that's just a little petty goal for me. It doesn't actually mean anything if you don't click on it. And if you do want to give it a click, the playlist will be in the description of this video. But that's not really my point. My point is that I don't like my stuff going missing. There was another playthrough that we did that was only one episode that I have lost, unfortunately, and I'm not happy about it. It was an episode of Golf with Your Friends. That's gone. But frankly, it wasn't very good. The Goof Troop playthrough was actually not bad. And we also recorded several things that never came out because the guys over at BLG just didn't want to edit them. There was a Secret of Mana playthrough, and there was some Mario Kart 8 stuff that they never edited. I never got the footage from them. And it's probably never going to come out now because those guys hate me because they've all gone radical left, off the cliff. But yeah, some people actually messaged me and asked, hey, how come all these random episodes that are not in your usual Game Boomer style are coming out on your channel? Well, this is why. And if you feel like doing me a favor, give that part 1 a click. Maybe you'll like the video, who knows. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. The Chaz video will come soon, TM. Oh, and I'll see you on my Twitch stream tonight if you want. We're gonna play some Final Fantasy VII. Anyway, thanks for indulging me. I'll talk to you later. I love you.